March 6, 1945. The air in Cologne hung heavy with the acrid temps of cordite and smoldering rubble. Where the spire of the ancient cathedral pierced, the haze like a defiant sentinel amid a sea of shattered stone and twisted steel, in the shadowed ruins of what was once a bustling square, a German tank crew huddled inside their Panther, the engine idling low. Vibrations humming through the armored hull as they scanned the debris-strewn streets for the rumble of approaching foes. Dust motes danced in the faint light filtering through cracked walls, and the distant crackle of small arms fire echoed like a fading heartbeat until suddenly a new sound intruded, a deep, unrelenting roar, mechanical and inexorable, growing. Louder from the west, heralding something vast and unyielding. This moment in Cologne, as American forces pressed into the heart of the Reich, marked a pivotal fracture in the armored warfare that had defined the European theater since 1939. By early 1945, the Third Reich's once mighty panzer forces were a shadow of their former selves, crippled by years of attrition on two fronts. The Wehrmacht had begun the war with innovative tactics and superior designs like the Panther and Tiger, which had terrorized Allied crews in Normandy and the Ardennes. Yet as the Allies surged across the Rhine following the capture of the Ludendorff bridge at Remagen just days earlier, Germany's industrial base lay in tatters under relentless bombing campaigns. Factories that once churned out thousands of tanks annually now struggled to produce mere hundreds. Fuel shortages and raw material deficits forcing commanders to ration every vehicle. In contrast, the United States had mobilized an unprecedented war machine, producing over 49,000 Sherman tanks alone by war's end, supplemented by newer heavy designs born from battlefield necessities. The M26 Pershing, named after General John J. Pershing, emerged from this forge of abundance, a 46-ton behemoth armed with a 90mm M3 gun capable of piercing 100mm of armor at 1,000 yards, using high-velocity armor-piercing rounds. Deployed under Operation Zebra, the first 20 Pershings arrived in Antwerp in January 1945, divided between the 3rd and 9th Armored Divisions, the total of 310 shipped to Europe by May. This infusion of fresh, factory-polished steel into the crumbling German landscape underscored the widening chasm between the combatants, transforming isolated encounters into symbols of inevitable defeat. German tankers, hardened by years of blitzkrieg triumphs and defensive stands, entered 1945 with a grim optimism rooted in propaganda and the promise of wonder weapons. They anticipated holding the line with their Panthers, sleek predators with sloped armor and long-barreled 75mm guns that could outrange most Allied tanks, or the formidable Tigers, whose 88mm cannons had earned a fearsome reputation since Tunisia. Crews like those in the 9th Panzer Division believed their technical edge and tactical acumen could stem the tide, envisioning a stalemate that might force negotiations or buy time for Hitler's vaunted secret arsenal. Yet as the Allies' advanced reality shattered these illusions. In the rubble of Elsdorf on February 26th, Pershing, dubbed Fireball, was ambushed by a Tiger Eye at point-blank range, its mantlet pierced and gun barrel jammed, killing 2 crewmen in a blaze of sparks and smoke. But the American tank was repaired and returned to action within days, a testament to logistical prowess that German units could only envy. The next day, another Pershing, under Sergeant Nicholas Mashalonik, engaged a Duggan Tiger at 1,000 yards. Its 90mm shells ripping through the Germans' underbelly and mantlet, reducing the vaunted heavy to a flaming hulk, while 2 Panzer IVs fell. In quick succession, the deep roar of the Pershing's Continental R975 engine, a sound of unbridled power drawn from America's vast oil fields and assembly lines, drowned out the desperate revving of German motors starved for fuel. Historical records from the period capture the mounting despair. In the 3rd Armored Division's after-action reports, dated March 1945, Pershings accounted for at least 5 confirmed German tank kills in the Rhineland, including Tigers and Panthers. With only 2 Pershings lost, one to a Nashron tank destroyer in Neil and another temporarily disabled. German documents, such as those from Panzer Brigade 16, reveal fragmented commitments of armor, with battalions reduced to handfuls of vehicles by constant attrition. Oberleutnant Wilhelm Bartelberth, commanding a Panther in Cologne, reportedly mistook an advancing Pershing for one of his own due to its unfamiliar silhouette amid the chaos, holding fire for precious seconds that proved fatal. As detailed in U.S. Signal Corps footage and eyewitness accounts, Bartelberth's tank was struck 3 times by Corporal Clarence Smoyer's gun. First in the engine compartment, igniting fuel lines, then, below the turret, shredding internals. Finally in the hull, detonating ammunition in a cataclysmic eruption. 4 crewmen bailed out amid flames, only to be cut down in the street. A surviving loader from a nearby Panzer for Gustav Schaefer later recounted in post-war interrogations his fury at abandoning his immobilized vehicle after a Pershing's barrage collapsed a building atop it, viewing the fight as futile once the Rhine bridges fell. "We ran out of shells before they ran out of tanks," echoed a sentiment from German anti-tank gunners facing endless Sherman waves, now amplified by the Pershing's arrival factory-fresh machines rolling from Detroit's arsenals at rates exceeding 100 per day in peak production, while German output dwindled to under 200 Panthers monthly by 1945. Amid these clashes, the emotional chasm widened. German crews, expecting to dominate with their engineered precision, instead confronted waves of pristine American armor emerging from the mist, their tracks grinding over ruins that mirrored the Reich's decay. In Blatzheim, a Pershing shattered. 88mm flak positions with high explosive rounds, maneuvering with a mobility that belied its weight, its engines roar, a constant reminder of the fuel abundance denied to the Wehrmacht. Soldiers like those in the 363rd Volksgrenadier Division, manning Panzerfausts in the shadows, had been fed tales of Aryan supremacy and industrial invincibility, yet watched as these new behemoths, touched by the scars of prolonged war, advanced relentlessly. The contrast bred a hollow ache, a realization that their sacrifices in the snows of the Bulge or the mud of Kursk had been for naught against an enemy whose resources seemed infinite. Captured officers transported to American POW camps whispered, in memoirs of the shock upon seeing U.S. factories belching out tanks by the hundred, a sight that extinguished lingering hopes. One anonymous German tanker, quoted in Allied intelligence summaries from April 1945, described the Pershings as ghosts from another world, their gleaming hulls a mockery amid bombed-out homes and skeletal factories. This hollow feeling deepened into transformation, eroding the ideological bedrock of National Socialism. For years, German propaganda had exalted the Panther and Tiger as embodiments of racial superiority, machines forged in the fires of Teutonic ingenuity to crush inferior foes. Yet as Pershings thundered through the Rhineland 310 deployed, with over 200 in action by VA Dathamith crumbled, the Super Pershing variant, armored with captured Panther plates and a longer 90mm gun, destroyed a Jag Panther at 1,500 yards near the Weser River on April 4th. Its single shot piercing what German crews deemed impenetrable. Such feats shifted perceptions from defiance to resignation. Tankers who once viewed the war as a test of will now saw it as a contest of production, where American democracy's decentralized economy outpaced the Reich's centralized command. Memoirs from survivors, like those compiled in the U.S. Army's Historical Division, revealed how this encounter hollowed out faith in the Führerprinzip, replacing it with a grudging awe for the enemy's material ethos. The deep roar of the Pershing's engine, recurring like a symphony of industrial might, symbolized not just mechanical power, but the abundance born of free enterprise, vast assembly lines manned by diverse workers, fueled by democratic resolve, churning out weapons that overwhelmed authoritarian scarcity. In the epilogue of this armored saga, that unrelenting roar lingers as a poetic echo across the scarred landscapes of Europe, linking the hollow gaze of defeated crews to profound truths about freedom and abundance. In the ruins of Cologne, where factory-fresh steel rolled past the remnants of a crumbling empire, the sound bespoke a larger victory, not merely of arms, but of ideologies where individual ingenuity and collective plenty triumphed over rigid hierarchy and enforced want. It whispered that true strength flows from the well springs of liberty, where abundance is not hoarded but multiplied, ensuring that the machinery of democracy endures long after the engines of tyranny fall silent. In that hollow moment, amid the dust and debris, German tankers glimpse the inexorable advance of a world remade, where freedom's roar drowns out the echoes of oppression, forging a peace built on the unyielding foundation of shared prosperity.